What's happening, CSTers? Welcome to the big show this Monday evening. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, a nice sunny weekend here in the Buckeye State. Glad you're with us. I am Nick Struberling. We got a big show for you this week. Finally, it is finally done. Luciano Acosta, officially a member of FC Cincinnati. So coming up a little bit later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Ted Meyer and John Hoffman from the RFK Refugees podcast to get their thoughts on what they saw out of Luciano Acosta back when he played for DC United for those 4 years, a couple of years ago. And of course, a little bit later on in the show, we're going to talk about the West End Stadium coming to life. That's right, the light show last week that everybody really seemed to enjoy, not just from FC Cincinnati fans, but from soccer pundits across the country. Everybody seemed to be pretty high on the West End Stadium. Of course, if you're watching us live here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, thank you so much for tuning in here this Monday evening. We are glad you're with us. If you want to leave us feedback, you can always email us feedback@cincinnati-soccer-talk.com, and you can hit us up on Twitter as well @Cincy Soccer Talk. All right, let's welcome in my guys for this week, my cast of characters. I will start with Brad Weigel. Brad, how's it going, buddy?
You know, it's only taken 6 years, but FC Cincinnati finally got their 10. So we can discuss, and I'm sure we'll discuss later if it was, the right move or not. But at least it's good. I think maybe a couple of months ago during Christmas, Rob Pierce had us all ask what was on our wish list. And I think 75% of us put something either related to goals or number 10. So I'm glad FC Cincinnati and Santa Claus finally delivered.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts on Luciano Acosta, Brad. You have been vocal.
I don't have many of those with Lucho. Not too many. So
fair enough.
We'll see.
All right. Well, let's also welcome back to the show. He's wearing shades this week. Oh, and it looks like if you're listening to the audio podcast, he's a recently vaccinated Jeff Tebbets. Jeff, welcome back to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you?
Shots, everybody. I'm pumped. I got the first one in the right shoulder, and it put me down for about 2 days. Now, it's just they say it's a prick, but it will hurt a little bit. But I mean, you do this to get yourself out and about. It is beautiful weather out there. You want to get this in your system so that you can celebrate brand new games at West End Stadium.
Jeff is just celebrating that card like it means something. I think all it really means is he's old. He's qualified, so he's old,
I'm old, but I look good for my age.
He does look good. Jeff, awesome to have you back on the show as well. Really looking forward to getting your thoughts on Luciano Acosta, the West End Stadium, you name it, anything FCC related. Looking forward to getting your thoughts here on this week's show. And last, but certainly not least, the Wolf.
Hey,
making his return. Bill, how you doing, buddy?
I am good. I probably got my card a little bit before Jeff, so I guess that means I'm really old. But hey, I'm doing good. What a light show. We'll talk about that later. But man, I am still pumped about that. That was phenomenal. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
And when we have Bill on, usually he brings the excitement. He is always super positive when it comes to FC Cincinnati, and rightly so. I mean, the West End Stadium show was pretty awesome. But let's talk about one of those new members of FC Cincinnati that's going to be playing in that West End Stadium this year, gentlemen. Luciano Acosta, finally announced by FC Cincinnati last week. He will be a designated player. Finally, I think, since the club was founded back in 2016 or played their first games back in 2016, gents, we've been waiting for some sort of 10 playmaker to really unlock an offense. And hopefully that's what happens here this upcoming summer for the orange and blue. You've got a guy now who has the ability to maybe free up Jurgen Locadia, get hooked up with Brenner, Yuya Kubo. It's Barrial. I mean, this offense, all of a sudden, Brad, I know there's a lot of question marks still, but it's a 10. It's something that Gerard Nijkamp has stressed over the last few months and really ever since he's arrived as a position of need. And say what you will, he fits the 10 spot for FC Cincinnati.
There's going to be questions about what was did FC Cincinnati go about getting their 10 the best way possible for the club. They had to give, I think what we mentioned, a significant amount of GAM to DC. Hopefully we've give as much as we can of that deal to DC because that means Lucho's done well. I think that it definitely raises the floor for FC Cincinnati, and the ceiling, but it definitely brings that floor up. And then you mentioned a massive point about taking some pressure. We saw last year that load got on Jurgen Locatia's shoulders, really got into his head where it just every time he got the ball, Desvidi was trying to make something happen, and it just didn't work. Now you've got guys like Brenner, you got guys like Loca, you got maybe Kuba coming back, Barrial. You're talking about Amaya. You're starting to see some pieces here that are going to hopefully lead to some success. So I think it's a good move. It has the potential to be a really, really a great move. You think about it. DC made the playoffs with Lucho 3 or 4 years. So the guy has had success in the league on teams that they say in DC during that time frame weren't of the highest caliber. So I'm definitely excited that he's here. I'm glad FC Cincinnati got a 10, and we'll just see how high that ceiling is going to be.
Jeff, how excited are you?
About here, eye level maybe. I love the fact that they're bringing in someone, and really you looked at the offseason and no big deals were made by a lot of the teams. Where they say two out of the 3 DPs signed over the break were FC Cincinnati signatures. So they're making the moves that they want to be high profile. I'm a little concerned about him vanishing at the wrong time. You said DC United, they made the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years, but in all 3 of those years, they got knocked out the first round. So he does tend to vanish, and that does bring a little bit of concern for me.
Bill, I know, look, this is something you've talked about on this show for years.
Yep.
A playmaker 10. I know that Gerard Nightcamp has made it no secret that's what he wanted to do. He finally got what he was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, we had back in the day, Nazmi was the big name, and everybody was excited about him. We didn't see anything happen with that, for whatever reasons. Siem de Jong was our 10 last year. We didn't see that happen. We certainly don't have a great history with 10s. Not that I want to get negative about it, but I think what we can say about Lucio Acosta is that he's a proven 10, right? I mean, it's not a young person, coming in who we think can fill the role. It's not somebody who's coming from overseas, who's never played in MLS, who we hope can fill that role. This is somebody who has literally been in MLS in this role and has been successful. Now, there has been certainly times where he's been less successful, but I think, we've also even kind of broken that down a little bit, that some of his best years were the years that we, saw him being pushed forward, push, score, less defensive roles. And, it seems from Stom's tactics that he's very likely to basically have a 6 and an 8 sitting nicely behind Acosta, leaving him free to push forward, free to be creative. And, I think that's the key for him as far as what he wants to do and what he's successful at doing. So I think we've got him in the right role for what he's good at. And I think that's a good sign. And then I think, for me, and I've said this, as you said many times, without that 10, the system that we're building doesn't work. I mean, we're building an entire system around having a 10 playmaker, and we hadn't found that playmaker yet. So, I think this is a definitely a good deal. The price is high, but not ridiculous. And he's got a green card, so he's domestic, which is another thing we needed because we don't have a lot of international spots. So all in all, 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, we keep talking about like role players and all this stuff, and almost like, who the hell am I thinking of right now? I'm almost thinking like Andy Dalton. Okay, is Lucho going to be Andy Dalton? Is he going to be a guy who's able to have success because he's got AJ Green around him, some other players? Or are we talking like potential Aaron Rodgers PSG guy who was lighting the league on fire in 2018? Okay, that's what's holding me back with this whole equation. Is he going to be awesome? Is he going to be that PSG caliber player? Or we got Andy Dalton, who, yes, he's going to get us to the playoffs, but we're going to bomb out 6 years in a row in the first round. So that's why I'm like struggling with this battle.
Wouldn't you be okay with bombing out in the first round with where this team has been? I'll take that at this point.
100%.
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
I want to be awesome. I don't want to just be all right. I don't want to be another Cincinnati franchise. And that's just why. That's just kind of why I'm pushing back on this a little bit more.
Fair enough.
Well, I get your point, Brad. I mean, I understand that you want to do better, and I certainly would like to hoist a cup, but we got to talk about where we're coming from and where we're trying to get to, and the fact that we're bringing in new players. I mean, if you look at at where, other people who are maybe less positive about the team than we are, because, obviously we're a little biased, obviously, but other people are saying, well, maybe you get 1 or 2 spots, or, maybe, but probably not even playoff contention. I think this is a playoff contention team. I think we've basically, if you look at where other teams have done moves this offseason, hardly anybody has made anything compared to what we've made. We've certainly spent the money to catch up, and I think this is our time to make that leap and at least be a playoff team. And then I think we move forward from there.
I mean, you can only really, all you can do is go up from here. I mean, you're talking about being in last place, 2 wooden spoons, 1 more, and you've got a set for serving people at dinner. But I mean, the thing that I'm concerned about is getting to the playoffs. And I still think that we're talking way too early about playoffs. We need to really show that we can string wins in a row. We need to show that we can escape games on the road with points and we have to show that we can perform. If we're going to throw something out there like, shooting for playoffs, I think that's being shooting a little high. And if we do make the playoffs, I'll say this: I don't want to be the person that makes it and just loses, or else they're going to point to us tying Nashville in 2018 and saying you still can't win the big game.
And Bjorn brings up a good point in our chat on YouTube. He says, well, we won't know anything until we can actually watch the team play. That's fair. You can bring all the groceries and bring them home, but if you can't cook with them, then what does it really matter? Let's talk about the financial implications. Say that 5 times fast, Brad. We know that FC Cincinnati they had to pay a transfer fee to Atlas. They also had to pay GAM to DC United. Where did all that fall?
Yeah, it's not been confirmed by the club, but we're hearing a $3 million transfer fee to Atlas, which is, again, another reason why I'm like a little shocked by this, because originally, and you'll hear later, it sounded like it was going to be, Atlas just wants them off their books. So we'll see how that ends up. I do think that a $250,000 guaranteed in GAM that first season is not horrible. I think they're talking about help me out here, Nicholas Superling. Escalating, excuse me, to somewhere around like 350,000 this year, and then maybe another 200,000 next year. So all in all, I don't think it's horrible. Breaking out that GAM spend over 2 seasons isn't that bad either. I really want him to work out because I think he's got the talent. We'll see. But for $3 million, there really can't be many questions. And I think the one nice thing that I do like about this move is Lucho won't be coming externally from the league, like long-term, like you're taking like Pochettino down in Austin with our buddy Michael Lahoud. Lucho knows the league. He knows the travel. He knows how to prep his body. He's 26. He should be heading into his prime, and hopefully he's on a better team than what he's been in down at Atlas the last year and a half or so. So hopefully we'll get a motivated Lucho. But again, there's still some questions, and like Bjorn said, we'll really have to wait and see how he looks when he gets here, and then when we're actually able to lay eyes on the team, which hopefully this weekend. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the roster as a whole, right? You bring in Luciano Acosta, designated player. Brenner, designated player. Right now, Jurgen Locadia, a designated player. Also, designated player. Alan Cruz, Yuya Kubo. So, at some point, Kubo and Cruz have to be bought down, Brad, or potentially moved on.
Yeah, right now you're sitting about you have 1 senior spot left. I think we do have plenty of TAM to buy down Cruz and Kubo. They're really not high cost DPs per se. So I do think FC Cincinnati's sitting nice in allocation money wise. So we'll just have to wait and see what FC Cincinnati wants to do. I know they've talked about bringing in a winger, talked about bringing in a center back. Like I said, 1 senior spot, so somebody's going to have to go. We might even be a little heavy on international spots. So you might see somebody like Calvin Harris. So I don't think that the allocation money is going to be much of an issue. It's just going to be, can we get more impact players in? Can we fit all the pieces of the puzzle with the senior spots and the international spots? So we'll see. I do think we have the GAM to do it. And then do you want to leave, a room to make a move this summer? So we'll see all that. But I think FC Cincinnati's sitting all right. You could do things that would maybe help the club long term. But I think that's just going to be another year of getting some of the higher contracts off the books and continue to refresh the team. But like I said, with Lucho, you're finally starting to set a base, which you can then analyze all the talent around you. Ken and I have been saying it the last couple of weeks, so we'll see how it goes.
Let's play a fun little game, shall we? When we watched a couple years ago when Wayne Rooney arrived in Major League Soccer, Luciano Acosta really took off in Major League Soccer, right? Now he comes to Cincinnati. Which of the players on this current roster right now feels the biggest impact of Luciano Acosta? I'll start with you, Bill.
What I'm not sure I understand the question. Which one of the current FCC players will benefit the most from having Luciano Acosta on the field? Got it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were trying to reverse it. Who was going to give Acosta the most boost? I think. Boy, the easy answer is to say Brenner, and I would say that just from even some of the early interviews right now, those two seem like they're really starting to bond in a significant way. There's a lot of talking about each other rather than talking about themselves, which I find positive. And I think that's why Acosta was brought in, and I think it's pretty clear to both of them why he's been brought in. So, it seems like they both understand that, which is good, and it seems like they're both working diligently to create some sort of a connection between the two of them. So yeah, I'm thinking, kind of the obvious thing, right? You got a 10 creating, and you've got your striker up top, your 9 trying to score. So I'm going to go with Brenner.
Jeff?
I'm going to go a little bit more long term. I'm going to actually say Frankie. I think he might get a lot by looking to see what an actual number 10 does in front of him. We've been talking about over the past off season that, Frankie, there's rumblings that he wants to be the 10 on this team, or he wants to have more of an offensive spark. Maybe by having Acosta in front of you, someone who has proven himself to be a number 10 in this league, he can sort of show him the ropes a little bit and exactly what it's like to be operating a team in that spot.
All right, Brad, how about you?
Okay, because everybody's been trying to come up with nicknames. I'm going to come up with one for my answer here. It's going to be Matederson, Der Werf, Salam, or Jow.
Okay.
Gesundheit.
Yes. So it's not just it's the whole back line. You can have, if I want to get really creative, I would have merged first names and got Shemaswav in there somehow. I don't know. I'm not that creative on the fly, but it's got to be the whole back line and goalie, because finally, for the first time in 3 years, hopefully we'll be able to keep the ball in the opponent's half for predictably. So, our guys can not consistently feel under pressure. That is going to be a massive thing. You've got a guy now who can hold on to the ball and distribute. That is not underrated. If all of a sudden we see, Van der Werf is a TAM center back now. Man, that was a great turnaround. What happened between 20 and 21? Well, it's because they're not consistently under pressure and defending for their lives.
You guys are all forgetting the most important name here. I think Jurgen Locadia is going to benefit the absolute most from having Lucho Acosta on the field. He's going to get service, and he's going to be put in position, because Brenner is also going to take away from Locadia. So you got Brenner playing up top. Locadia, we think, is going to be playing on the wing. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Jurgen Locadia to just get 2020 off of his shoulders. Just forget it even happened. He's got a clean slate. I think he has the potential to be a whole new player for FC Cincinnati. And then come May or come June, when this loan is up, now we're talking about, well, what does FC Cincinnati do? Because now if he's scoring 10 goals by June, you can't send him back to Brighton. So I think this is the perfect chance. Oh, right. Exactly. Brad is doing the pay Brighton that money.
Dollar bills. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's not forget that in 2018, when he had that great season, that it wasn't just Rooney, that Darren Maddox got over 10 goals.
Yeah.
Assad was performing. Paul Areola came into form. This is, a team that if you have two great pieces to it, the other pieces might follow after.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, though, FCC fans. Get in touch with us. Feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com is the email address to do that. All right, it's that time of the show where we give a big shout out and thanks to our tremendous supporters. So let's give it up to Tim Bronsel and Tom Rose, Matt Adamczyk, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, Tara Mullins, Riley Stephen Burke, and Melissa Bingle. Thank you so much for supporting us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. To learn more on how you can support the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. All right, so this next segment of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, proud to be presented by Rhinehouse. We are very excited about this partnership with Rhinehouse over the next couple of months. Rhinehouse is over the Rhine's only sports bar and the city's best soccer bar. If you haven't been to a Premier League weekend, you got to check it out. They pack the house. It's a great time. I know Brad and Jeff have been down there a couple times during Premier League weekends for sure. They've got 15 TVs ready to show you pretty much any match you're looking for. Rhinehouse opens 15 minutes before Premier League matches on weekends, so grab your coffee and donuts and see if you can get there before sunrise. As an official FC Cincinnati pub partner, Rhinehouse is going to be the place to be before and after home matches. There's just a short 15-minute march to West End Stadium. Rhinehouse has some big things in the works for FC Cincinnati home match day, so stay tuned and make sure you follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rhinehouse OTR. And we thank them so much for their support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. All right, Brad and I had a chance to catch up with John and Ted from the RFK Refugees podcast. Let's check out that conversation. All right, and joining us now on the CST hotline, we've got Ted Meyer and John Hoffman, and they are the co-hosts of the RFK Refugees podcast, and we're really excited to have them on the show. John and Ted, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good. Doing well.
Well, the reason we have you here is obviously last week, FC Cincinnati finally announced Luciano Acosta, which had been reported for many, many weeks here in the Queen City. He signed as a DP player there at midfield, the playmaking midfielder that we've been looking for many years here in Cincinnati. So we wanted to bring you on because you had a chance to watch him up close and personal the last few years. So what is FC Cincinnati getting in Lucio Acosta, gentlemen?
Ted, you go ahead and start.
I will start. You are going to get a player. I think Pablo Maurer on the of the Athletic, I think, described it best. When he is on and he is focused and he is connecting well with his teammates, he is incredibly fun to watch. 2018 was an incredibly fun year with his partnership with Wayne Rooney. He likes to get on the dribble. He has an ability to play a good pass, to play sort of that final pass. When he's focused, he's an incredibly fun player to watch. The biggest thing is, and his biggest problem, I think, in DC was, and he had I would say about 5 good months in the time that he was here. Sort of the back half of 2016 when he came in here on loan, and of course the back half of 2018 when Wayne Rooney arrived. Short of that, it was never consistent enough. Now there were a number of things that I think I don't know, you can call them excuses. Obviously the team DC United themselves from 2016 to 2017 we're still at RFK. We're not wanting to spend money. He was sort of the only person they really spent on. The depth on this team was not great, but he had a tendency to be temperamental. He had a tendency to, there was always in 2019 especially, there was the classic throws. He would throw his arms up in the air when something wouldn't go his way. There was, of course, all the transfer issues with PSG, 10 million. I don't know if we'll ever know. Sam Stejskal is saying, oh, there was a $10 million offer. Stephen Goff says, no, there wasn't. It wasn't even that serious. It seems like it had to be at least somewhat serious for them to fly all the way to Paris. But I don't know if we'll ever get the full story of what happened with it. How close was it? What was the holdup? There have been about 5 different things mentioned as the holdup to that transfer. But it affected his 2019, and it showed. There was a lot going on too. Wayne Rooney became unhappy. It's kind of a shame because he was a player. He was sort of the first player I think this team signed. When people showed up in 2018 and saw Wayne Rooney, they came for Wayne Rooney, and then they said, "Hey, I really like this Lucho guy. This guy's great. He played some incredible soccer." And DC hadn't had that player for a very long time. So I think a lot of fans, like John will probably mention, are a little sentimental to that. The lack of consistency hurt him for me. So John, feel free to take apart every comment that I just made.
So
you,
give
Ted.
our fans some hope. Give
Oh,
our
I will.
fans some hope, John.
I bringeth to you a basket of hope. Okay, so Ted referenced sort of the early years of Luciano Acosta and the fact that he only had a few good months. I would say that DC United surrounded Luciano Acosta with clowns for many years, and the frustration that he would show on the field was often due to the clowns around him not passing him the ball, not making defensive runs, not trapping, not doing all the things that he was himself doing or expecting other players to do. That got him a reputation with some fans that wanted basically that didn't really handle a player that showed his displeasure. That's not the vibe that they were looking for, basically. However, he had something on the team that nobody else hasn't had since 2016. So when he joined, and it hasn't gotten since, there's no one like him that can beat somebody off the ball or on the ball. He'll get past anybody. He is aggressive. He will trap like nobody's business on the attack. He will close down when he's motivated and he's up for it, which will happen if you are competitive. He's the player you want. He's gonna give you a moment of magic in a game. Will he perform well if the team stinks and he feels like there's no reason for him to really be out there, or everyone around him is worse than he is? Maybe not. He is, however, coming from Atlas, a situation in which he did not impress. He is being let go. I don't have the details on the financials on that side. It was the understanding from DC's perspective that Atlas was willing to let him go to get rid of his contract wage because he was a player up until very recently that was a substitute. Very strangely, after the negotiations with FC Cincinnati were made public in the media, he started to start every game, which was interesting. I guess probably a come get me situation. But anyway, I think that he has something to prove. I think he likes being in the United States. I think he has a great potential partner with the 4 that you've signed. I think he wants the eyes of Europe on him again. He's still young enough. He's only 26. I think he would like to move overseas. He knows that he needs to have another 2018 season again, but with Cincinnati in order to get those options before him. So basically, you have a high upside, high downside player. I think that's really the way I'd place it. If he feels that FC Cincinnati is not surrounding him with the talent that he needs to excel, he might mope similar to the way he did in 2019. If you do, and it seems like you are. It seems like there's a striving going on this season with the player acquisitions that you guys are doing. You might have a great player on your hands for however long he wants to stay.
You guys are kind of killing me here because Lucho, you look at his 4 seasons at DC and surrounding him with clowns, they still made the playoffs 3 of those 4 years. Now they did have a wooden spoon in 17, which we're all familiar about. But what was it that bad? Was it?
I think I come from a place of 2018 was such a great year for a lot of things, and it was kind of the moment I think when a lot of fans thought, okay, now we're contenders. Matt Doyle at MLS Cup highlights DC and says DC's my Eastern Conference contender, and just kind of the way 2019 fell apart. The sort of exits of Wayne Rooney, and I think just the disappointment of that season, it kind of soured a lot of emotions. One thing I'll add about Lucho is I think your DPs in the league, your high paid players, you can have highly skilled, high paid players. The ones that we remember, the ones that elevate everybody else around them, and I'm not sure Lucho can do that. Wayne Rooney certainly could do that. He elevated Lucho. I mean, PSG comes knocking. I mean, that was probably a large part due to Wayne Rooney coming in. You talk about those years. Yes, he put up, if you look at his numbers, you see some good numbers there. And his play in 2016 towards the back half of that season, when they kind of gave him the keys, won him that contract. But what I look at your Carlos Velas, your Joseph Martinez, your Miguel Morons, those players elevate everybody else around the field. They came in and they said, and they made everybody else look better. Lucho will put some dazzling moves. He passes the eye test with flying colors. He will do things that will make you stand up, kind of that moment when you're watching the game, you're sitting in your chair and then you see him start to get a run. He beats one player, he beats two, and suddenly you're kind of leaning in on your seat. We all know those moments. He'll give you a lot of those.
What's that like?
Brutal.
Well, yeah. Some self-deprecation, but you get those moments, and hey, maybe you guys will come back and say it's better than what we had. But he will also give you moments of frustration when he'll beat one or two players, and then he'll lose the ball or he'll make an errant pass, and then he'll kind of throw his arms up, look around at his teammates, and you're like, Lucho, what are you doing? You're trying too much. You need to trust your teammates a little bit more.
So let me just give you some context around the clowns that I'm speaking of. So here are the forwards that Luciano Acosta played with in 2016. He played with Alvaro Saborio when he was already cooked. Patrick Mullins, the perpetual almost going to be a good player, never actually was. Alhaji Kamara, who now plays somewhere, I think, in a former Soviet republic. Kennedy Igbonanike, so that's the 2016. 2017, you've got Dershorn Brown, Dane Kelly, Bruno Miranda, Patrick Mullins again, and then Chris Rolfe, even though I think he played half a season because he was concussed most of that season. So to Ted's credit, he did not elevate those players and make them world beaters. He did not. I think that if you're expecting him to have a Wayne Rooney-like impact on your team, you will be disappointed. If you are thinking that you have made enough player acquisitions and you're confident in your coaching and you're confident in your attacking philosophy that you're going to go forward with, Lucho can probably get you there. I think he can probably elevate the level of play around him in a way that other players were not able to do for FC Cincinnati in the last couple of years. That'd be my personal estimation.
Yeah, I've kind of been asking the question, can he lift all boats? I think one of the things we're going to see is I don't think he's going to be the problem player. I don't think he's going to be the issue. I think one of the things that we'll be able to tell from FC Cincinnati is who's worth keeping around the field now. Because I think now FC Cincinnati just has a lot of question marks. They don't know what they have, outside of, Brenner, we hope comes in, Moderita. We're still, waiting to see if Makoto and Amayo are going to be awesome in the infield or in the midfield. But what people are talking about, some of these negative things with Acosta and him disappearing. What's that look like? Because FC Cincinnati, we think disappearing is like gone. But he still played a lot of minutes, but people are saying he's disappearing. What's that look like? What's the bad? We know what the good's going to look like. It's going to be PSG knocking them on the door. What's the bad look like?
Frustration, right? I think it looks like throwing your arms up. I think it looks like pointing at other players on the field. It looks like around the 85th minute, if you're down, Lucho sort of just standing around or walking away from the goal because he knows that he's not going to get the service that he wants. That's sort of what happened. It's more demonstrable upset than it is really disappearing. He'll try. He's not going to stop trying in general. He's not going to just completely vanish from the offense. But it is he really once he pulls up the tent and the circus leaves town, it's not going to be a positive sight. And I think some fans, similar to Ted and similar to many DC United fans, will probably not like that.
All right, John. So we kind of hear what's some of his struggles, but what gets him up in the morning? What excites him? What excites the fans? What gets him to be that potential PSG player? And then maybe kind of delve into what players might work well around him. Why did Wayne Rooney work out well? Why did he have some other success?
The problem with Lucho, I think, what gets him up in the morning? What makes him a happy player? I think having a really talented option around him. So I think Brenner is a big shiny object for him. I think he sees the opportunity there to play with another goal-minded attacking player who is going to score highlight goals, who's going to see him as the main pivot point. So he wants to have the ball. He wants to be in the middle of the field with the ball. He wants to dribble past players. He wants to pass. He wants to shoot. He wants to score. So I think the fact that Brenner was probably one of the big things that got him there. Also, maybe the interest in the money and the contract will probably get him up in the morning pretty efficiently as well. But I think the challenge that he could face is the same one he faced at DC United. Was that when the style of play where he would have the ball a lot of the time, it could be easily knocked off by marking him out of the game, by taking off his main supply point. So the Columbus Crew in the playoff game against DC United put a lot of distance between Wayne and Lucho. So by man marking them and pushing them away from each other basically throughout the game, they weren't able to link up. The fact that they weren't able to link up, there was no plan B. There was no other dominant player on DC United's roster who could take the ball, control the ball, and put the ball in dangerous places. They just sputtered. They sputtered the entire game until a Nick DeLeon goal out of nowhere towards the end of the game and put them into extra time and penalties. So that's the challenge, right? The challenge is what's the plan B when that avenue gets closed off. I think that as long as the team is set up for a plan B, it's like, oh, okay, well, they're man marking Lucho, they're kicking him, he's getting mad, he is kicking the ball, he is walking around throwing his arms about. What are we going to do next? How can we get the ball into a dangerous place without him?
So I think John hit sort of one of the main points, which is if there is another player out there that he connects with, I forget the forwards you guys mentioned, but if there's a player that can kind of think on his level, he can connect with very easily, he can really be a fantastic player. The reason it worked out so well with Wayne Rooney is it was almost instantaneous. As soon as he and Wayne kind of got together, they were able to figure each other out very quickly and were able to connect very quickly. And that's why you saw some of the amazing play that you saw from him. So I think that's sort of the key. What gets him up and what gets him moving is when he has a player that he can kind of connect with. He can sort of be on that's on the same level as him about how he thinks about the game. And I think if you get someone like that, you're gonna love your time with Lucio Acosta.
So I got to ask the golden question as we wrap things up here with you, gentlemen. Is this a good signing for FC Cincinnati?
Go ahead, Ted.
You know what? I despite all my criticisms, I know that FC Cincinnati is a team that is this is a prove it time for Lucho. And I think you guys are starting to show. You guys are the only team that's spending money right now. No one else is really spending money. Maybe aside from Atlanta. But you're no one's really spending money. You guys are actually going out, getting players, getting talent. I think you guys do have an ability to surround him with enough talent that he doesn't have to shoulder all the responsibility that he had at DC. He doesn't have to be the guy. You guys have, I know you guys have Kubo, Frankie Amaya,
Lacadia.
Yeah, Lacadia, all those players. You guys surround him with enough talent. I think he'll be successful.
I think for $3 million, that's not really, I don't think you can screw up too much with $3 million. I mean, that's not nothing. Certainly in MLS, certainly for teams like DC United, $3 million, we don't want to miss on that. Although we missed potentially. We had a pretty off year originally for our record-setting signing. So it's possible that could come back to bite you. I think it's if he's a player that's motivated, and I think he will be based on the fact that he had a very rough few years in Mexico, based on he's not performed in the way he wanted to while he was there. I think that's a bargain for a player. Now, the Garber bucks that you sent us, I don't know if that's going to hurt you or not. I'm glad you sent them to us. I hope he performs well for you, so we get all of it instead of just some of it. But I think you guys, I think he'll be happy. I think that he will not frustrate you more than he brings you joy.
That's a great way to end. Ted and John, thank you so much for being with us here on this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Make sure you go check out their podcast, the RFK Refugees, available where you get your podcasts. Ted and John, best of luck this season.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Our thanks to, again, Ted Meyer and John Hoffman for joining us this week on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We'd love to get your feedback. CSTers on what they had to say about Luciano Acosta. Hit us up, feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. Brad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice interview. It's kind of steering a little negative, which it's kind of killing me a little bit. But I mean, it's true. The guy, I think that's one of the most frustrating things about Lucio Acosta and why you might hear some of the negativity around it is because he literally could be a world beater. He could be an amazing signing. There's just been times where he just hasn't performed. And while they mentioned the quote unquote clowns, I think that was more the first two than his last several years. When he had Rooney, which he killed it, but then Jeff mentioned Areola. I think did Ola Kamara play that last year? I think I can't remember.
Maddox.
Darren Maddox. He was at the beginning, I think, of 18. So he definitely at least had more talent around him the last 2 years. And that's kind of why maybe I'm not as high because I always say it's the hope that kills you, and I start to see like, Loka might not have the pressure. Got some pieces around him. Brenner, Barreal, Calvin Harris. There's some talent there. It's kind of and all of a sudden I start kind of running and I start kind of getting hopeful, and I got to go, oh nope, don't get hurt yet. But I thought it was a good interview, and I am definitely interested to see him interact with the guys and see what it's like to have a number 10 in orange and blue for the first time.
What'd you make of it, Jeff?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it with having to surround them with talent. That 1 year that they were last in everything, the biggest names you had there were Lamar Nagel and Sebastian Letou. Heck, the person that scored was third on the goals list was Ian Harkes, guys. I mean, they didn't have a lot of team and chemistry there, and there was a lot of moving in and out. The pieces were being dealt and being brought in. So if you've got a big infusion of talent in the beginning, I think that gives him a drive to perform well and to prove to everybody that it wasn't just Rooney.
Yeah, I mean, when John listed off the players that Luciano Acosta played with that first couple of years, Bill, and you compare that to FC Cincinnati's roster right now, I know we haven't seen Brenner play, but that's a big investment, right? We know Jurgen Locadia is a designated player. On paper, this should be a better team than what he was facing with DC a few years ago.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, and they mentioned that specifically, that FC Cincinnati is spending the Garber bucks right now, that we are putting talent around him. I mean, we haven't seen them play. So, we can come back to Bjorn's comment at the beginning of the show all day long, which is we haven't seen them play. And really nothing is real until it's real. But, here we are, kind of speculating, which is what we do. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a comparison to 2016 pre-RFK stadium at DC United to what we've got now. And, I think the other thing that kind of popped into my head a little bit as we were talking through this here at the end, we've been talking about the quote clowns in the early days, but, 18 was great. 19, we saw Wayne Rooney leave as well. So, I think something was going on there. It feels like that, I mean, yeah, they didn't do well, but, talent was leaving rather than staying and doubling down. And I think that's an indication of maybe there's some deeper problems there that we probably aren't aware of. So,
yeah, look, as you mentioned, we just wanted to get the perspective of some folks who got to watch him up close and personal for those 4 years, right? I mean, we were enjoying the USL back when Luciano Acosta was playing for DC United. So I think there's reason for FC Cincinnati fans to be, I'll say, cautiously optimistic, like Brad, right? Like, we don't want to get hurt again. We don't want to get our hopes up. But at the same time, on paper, this does look like this is a much better team than what the results have shown over the last 2 seasons for FC Cincinnati. Now, they've got number 9, who we think can score goals. They've got Jurgen Locadia, who has shown a history of being able to score goals. And now they have somebody who should be able to free them up. So we'll see. Again, they had to watch a lot of losing there in DC, but they had 3 out of 4 years with him where they made the postseason. So if FC Cincinnati is scratching that postseason line this year in the Eastern Conference table, I think FC Cincinnati fans will be very, very excited. So that wraps up. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, they also talked about the relationship between Rooney and Acosta and how important that was to the success of that team. And already we're seeing him and Brenner trying to form a relationship, at least, to the media. Right. So, I mean, they're certainly interviewing together. They're talking about working with each other and they're including Locadia in that. So it's even not just the 2 of them, but it seems like those 3 are being brought together and seem to definitely they're creating a bond early as far as we can tell without seeing them play. And I think that's critical to the success. And I think it's shown that that's what worked in DC United.
Yeah. Big thanks to Rhinehouse for bringing us that segment. Really appreciate their support. Again, go follow them on social medias at Rhinehouse OTR. Of course, this show is also brought to you by the new Cincinnati Soccer Talk shirt store, folks. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/shop. I'm wearing the Watch Your Tackles shirt. You know you want to wear the Watch Your Tackle shirt, CSTers. Come on now. Head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/shop. Get your t-shirt just in time for the FCC season coming up here a little bit later on in April. We can I know we didn't get to watch FC Cincinnati play, but there are some rumblings about a game that might have happened recently between FC Cincinnati and maybe a team in the USL, Bill. And it sounds like it was pretty successful afternoon.
Yeah. So interestingly, unlike the Louisville game, which was, not seen and not visible, but tweeted heavily by Louisville.
Yes, it was.
This game was much more secret. Apparently they played Indy 11, and there were certainly some leaks that came out. It sounds like we did pretty well. There was some talk in the media, specifically from Stom, saying that for the Louisville game they kind of just played basically the kids. I mean, we kind of know that Brenner didn't play, and we know that Acosta wasn't even on the team yet, and such like that. And this game, they were rolling out more of an A team to see what would happen. And like we would expect, and actually happened, which is even better. It sounds like we kind of rolled over top of them in the first half. And, they're talking about goals from 5 different people, 5-0 score line. I heard Brenner scored, Acosta scored, Matarrita scored, Kubo scored, and I'm missing.
Did we say Acosta?
I did say Acosta.
And
Brenner, Acosta, Matarrita. Oh, I think maybe Barriel. I think Barriel was the 5th one. But anyway, so, almost all of our attacking players, including our left back, scored a goal. Lacadia didn't. I understand he was on the wing. So not a good sign for him, I guess. But we didn't see the game. So that means really nothing in the end. And, the second half, it sounds like we rolled out a younger group again, and it ended up 6-0 is kind of what the rumors are saying.
And it was Flanagan who scored in the second half, right?
That is what our own Jeff Tebbets over here, shaking his head, told us earlier. He heard. I did not hear that, but I heard it, but he heard it.
So do we feel better, or is this more, look, it's a preseason game?
So I think if you think about, okay, so after Louisville, you're kind of like, crap, 3-0 Louisville, like what the hell, not this again. At least, and then all of a sudden now we hear 6-0 and we steamroll and we win. At least I feel like it gives the team some benefit of the doubt. We don't know how they played, but it sounds like they played well. We don't really know the full story behind Indy, but I think number one, it kind of gives you a little hope. Kind of gives the team a little bit of credibility, like, okay, maybe there's something here. Now, what if we would have won like 1-0 in Indy? I would have been like still kind of nervous, like which way is this train headed? But I think a 6-0 that's pretty impressive. So I'm not going to say we're going playoffs. I don't say we're world beating, but you can at least maybe take a little bit of hope out of this, and it not like we go down to Florida and we get steamrolled. So at least gives me a little bit of hope, and maybe the guys are coming together. Jeff is shaking his head no, and I'm just seeing out of the corner of my eye and the visual side. You're killing me over here, Smalls. What's up? Tell me what you feel, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Turn on the shower, guys. Here comes the cold water. For one thing, yeah, it's 6-0, but we don't know the conditions about what's going on here. We don't know who Indy played. I say this is more of a thing of how bad Indy's going to look this next year. You take a look at their provisional roster right now. There's nobody left from our FCC squad from the USL, save for Bobby Edwards from last year. This is a team that's been decimated by people leaving to other squads. That's why you saw, Walker go to Lou City. You're seeing everybody go to Lou City because that's where the talent is. The other thing that sort of scrambles things up, Lou City went down to Nashville and got decimated 3-0 or 4-0 at Nashville. That doesn't tell me that this is a team that's improved. It tells me that they played a team that's bad.
He wasn't wrong about the cold water. I will say this.
Go ahead, Soups.
I was going to say, in the short history that is FC Cincinnati, in a full 90-minute match, I don't think they've beaten anybody 5-0 ever. I know it's a friendly.
6-0.
What I'm saying is they were up 5-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
But in their history of, if I know, and again, I'm not getting my hopes up either, but they still put the ball in the net, which is what we've been screaming about, right? This is what we've been begging them to be able to do.
We expect to beat a USL team. For the money we're spending, we expect to beat them well. I think that, we did what we were expected to do. The real test comes on Saturday. So let's see what happens against Chicago Fire. I think they're undefeated in preseason right now, or at least they've won all the ones down in Florida. So when we get down there and play them on Saturday, that'll give us an eye test finally, and a much better idea of where we stand against an MLS squad. So, yeah,
and it sounds like the game will actually be streamed.
We just to set a perspective, real quick. I'm sorry. Well, how many goals did we score last year? 12. We scored half it, or almost half that, or half that one game. Like almost half of it in one half.
How many goals last year did we score against Indy?
I'm not getting too high. I'm just saying, like, all right, okay, I'll give you a benefit of the doubt if you lose 1-0, or like
you give a free pass to the Louisville game, is what you're saying.
Maybe you get a little bit more of a pass. Come on, my brother is named after a 3-series movie with Steve Carell. Okay, all right. So we don't need to have any Despicable Me moments. I'll take 6-0.
Wow. All right. So
well, that's your new T-shirt there, Soups.
We're working on that. We'll see.
It's got to be extra tight and uncomfortable with the side of hangover.
Wow. Okay. So as you mentioned, that game is going to be streamed against the Fire. This will be the first real test for FC Cincinnati this offseason. You three will be able to watch it, being that you're in the Cincinnati area. I will not. I'll have to figure out another way to do that. TBD. But what is it that you want to see? I'm going to throw it to you first, Bill. It's like we're at IMG all over again. What is it you want to see in this preseason friendly?
Goals. We don't know how to score them. So, to me, we're still talking about a potential center back that's been kind of in the works, and it keeps coming up. So I'm guessing that, it's at least there's an attempt for it before the season starts, if not in the summer transfer window. But what have we changed, right? Certainly we brought in Matarrita as a left back, but part of why we brought him in is because he can attack. We brought in Brenner, we brought in Acosta, and even at the end of last season, we brought in Barriel, right? And to me, what we're trying to do is we're trying to improve our attack. So we scored 12 goals all of last year. Let's show something in this preseason game that says that it's going to be more than 12 this season.
Well, we should mention that there will be 2 players not in attendance for this friendly against the Fire because Alan Cruz and Matarrita both been called up by the Costa Rican national team for their friendlies this upcoming week. So they will be not taking part in these friendlies for FC Cincinnati, Jeff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the bummer. I sort of wanted to see how that left flank looks. But now that you don't have Matarrita in there, how does that fill in? I think that's the one thing I want to see in that game. How well does Flanagan play as a backup? Do they have a backup option? Does Saad or does Bailey, do they move over to the left? Can they play like Duplan did last year? I want to see what their backup is for the left flank.
Bradley?
I just want to see a style of play that doesn't rhyme with barking the plus. Okay, seriously, like we're again. Jaap Stam hasn't had a lot of time just to practice with these guys. All last season, they were undermanned and they were overworked, so he didn't get to work on tactics and how he wants to see the guys out there. And I know you can practice, but there's only so much you can do in a film room. So yeah. I'm really looking to see how the team shifts possession, how they shift off the back. You know what? If it's 2-2 or something like that, we looked really good going forward, but we had a couple casual errors, going back on defense because of the left back play. Or, that's something that I can live with this time of year, where the team's still coming together. But if you can just start to see some patterns of play and maybe some relationships forming, if we start to see Acosta and Brenner, or Acosta and Kubo, or Lacadia, that's really what I'm going to see. Because the guys with the RFK Refugees really, really hit the point home where it was legitimately Acosta and Wayne Rooney. And if you took those two out of play, DC was done. FC Cincinnati, if they're going to be successful, they've got to come up with some different routes for success. And I just really want to start to see some of those relationships form and develop.
We did get this Twitter question from Steve. He says, any insights into how well Frankie is getting on with the team since returning? I don't know, because obviously training is closed to the media, so we don't get to see it. But what I will say is, with Alan Cruz not being able to play this weekend, this is a great opportunity for Frankie and Luciano Acosta to get along, Brad.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. These guys are professionals, and I think all the guys won't be upset for a guy trying to get paid. Their careers are only so long. I think I'm sure there'll probably be some ribbing, but I'm sure they are already past all that. And you know what? The team is a lot of new guys. So if this was a team that had been together 5-6 years and a lot of vets, and all of a sudden you got the young guy trying to pull that rank card, I would be a little bit more worried than with a team full of new guys, a team in nucleus still developing. So I think he'll be all right. And again, it's not going to be the Amaya Loca show. There's going to be a lot more pieces around him this year, and I'm excited to see how he develops. And you know what? I hope he has a great next 3 months, tears it up, kills it, and then the U.S. U23s qualify, and they can't deny him a spot in the Olympics. That's what I would absolutely love. If I can hope for one thing in 2021, that's it.
It's a great point, Brad. Absolutely. You want to see him having success with the national squads, and just because he didn't make the qualifying roster doesn't mean he won't go to the Olympics with the U23 squad. And right, he's got a chance to prove it on the field. Give Jason Kreis a reason to take you to Beijing. So, or is it Tokyo?
Yeah,
or is it Beijing?
It's Tokyo. It's
Jeff,
Japan.
you're our guy, Jeff.
It's Tokyo, but no one's going to be able to go and see it. So it's just closing it off to the public. It's only going to be, as far as I know, the athletes.
All right. So Tokyo it is.
Yeah.
All right, good.
I'll translate for you guys.
Let's talk about the stadium. The West End Stadium came to life last week in a spectacular light show Thursday evening. I know my good pal Jason Davis loved it. We saw a lot of folks, national pundits, the guys over at Extra Time, pretty excited. So you finally had a chance to see the light show, Jeff. What'd you make of the West End Stadium?
I think it's on, looking at it with all the lights down from the day, you see it 9 p.m., 10 p.m. It looked outstanding. I really enjoyed seeing just even the random patterns that they had going through the LED lights. As amazing as it is, though, something in the back of my head is like, this could turn into the fireworks at Great American Ballpark where no one's there to watch them. We have to perform to get butts in the seats and to make this feel like a great experience, not just a visual experience.
What's more colorful? Let's just put it at the public here. We'll make it a Twitter question. What's more colorful, the new stadium or Jeff Tebbett's suits?
Well, he's so passionate about it. He railed his mic there a second ago.
I heard it.
Getting into it.
I mean, hey, I guess, the good thing about it is that I don't have the dark navy option that I need to wear, but if you guys, I would say vote for the suits. That's loud.
You put a little pocket square in there. No contest, Jeff. I got it.
I'm trying to get an ascot for this thing.
You need to get a suit that lights up like the stadium.
I've got the glasses.
I know.
But only on one side, either the front or back, only on one side, and maybe one sleeve, not the other.
And it can't be too loud. We got people that are trying to sleep.
Bill, what'd you make of it?
It was a thing of beauty. I mean, everything that I was hoping for out of those LED lights. Lots of concern from myself and others about hearing that the number of fins was reduced. I think in the end that was basically reduced off the West End out of consideration of the homes that are there. So there's plenty of density on the east side, and they were able to do some incredible stuff with it. I'm pretty excited. I mean, I showed it to my son, and he was like, I think that'll be incredible to walk up to the stadium before a game and having it doing things like that. I mean, it'll just be exciting, right? It's going to get your blood pumping just to see that as you're walking in. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens with the supporters as well. I mean, we're going to be marching right up that grand central staircase, into the stadium. And, what's the stadium going to be doing while the drums are there, the chants are going on? Is it just going to, sit there and glow, or is it going to like basically party down with the supporters? And I think there's some real potential to have some pretty cool things going on. And I can't wait to see what happens.
Just imagine what happens. You remember that scene when Rooney had hit that massive cross against Orlando and Acosta kicked it and he was in the crowd. Imagine that happening at the West End Stadium where the crowd is closer to the field and they'll be able to celebrate much more with the players.
100%.
Yeah, that is a classic goal. Luciano Acosta heading that one in, by the way. That was even more crazy. He's not the tallest guy on the pitch, and he was even able to head that one in. Probably the most famous goal in the Rooney era in Major League Soccer, and he was on the tail end of it. So if we get anything as exciting as that goal at West End Stadium with Luciano Acosta, I think everybody's going to be pretty excited. Yeah, I thought the light show was great. I'll be the first to admit I was one of those guys when the amount of fins were lowered significantly that I thought, well, how is a light show going to work? But they pulled it off. It looked fantastic. I was pleasantly surprised to see how flawless it looked. So what's next is I want to see it on game day. I want to see it with fans walking up the staircase. I want there to be a packed house there at West End Stadium. And hopefully we're getting there very, very, very soon.
Yeah, the other thing for me, I think, was just the contrast to the other stadiums that are coming out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Crew Stadium, just, hour and a half north of us. Look at Nashville. And I don't know that I've seen a lot on Austin, but it seems like all the new stadiums that are being built right now are these I want to say drab rectangles, and they kind of all look a little bit the same. There is nobody out there that looks like the FC Cincinnati Stadium. And we are unique. We are exciting. We are different. And I think for that in itself, I give kudos and high marks. And, I don't want to be a cookie cutter. I want us to, if you look at our stadium, I want you to be like, that's Cincinnati.
In the NFL, you see the best stadiums and the coolest designs come from like Vegas, LA, Atlanta, like the big cities. You see the best and brightest stadiums. And without a doubt, in my mind and what's out there, for a soccer-specific stadium in the U.S., the best one right now in the United States is in Cincinnati. And Jeremy Strand, I'm going to produce real quick. He put up, it was hard to believe that it's in Cincinnati. It's the truth. It is the truth. Cincinnati has the best soccer-specific stadium in the United States. And I couldn't be more excited. I can't wait to get there. When's the first home game?
May 16th.
May 16th. There we go, man. I'm ready for it.
Unfortunately, midday
already,
game.
I don't know the date.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
I said, unfortunately, a day game, so it's not going to be very dark.
It'll still look so much better than that chrome-plated leprechaun's buckle up in Columbus.
What?
That thing that thing that they're putting up there is ugly. I'm throwing the shade today. Columbus Stadium is going to be a thing of the past. They're not even going to be the best stadium in Ohio. We've got that.
I'm still trying to figure out what you said.
What did you say?
It's a belt
leprechaun buckle. It's a belt buckle.
That is true. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it looks like a leprechaun buckle. Like you'd see that thick black belt that they wear.
Truth, man. And the difference between that and Austin is they just put in green seats. And in Nashville, it's just a little bit bigger.
Yep.
So I love it. I mean, it's FC Cincinnati hitting a home run once again off the field.
Yeah.
Yep.
Scott in the chat says on YouTube, after seeing it lit up, I think Cincy's chances of hosting 2026 games went up. That I don't know about that because those games will not be played at West End Stadium. They will be played at Paul Brown Stadium. But it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to have a nice, flashy, shiny object to distract
Scott, I do like what you're saying though. You think about it. FC Cincinnati's got a $50 million practice facility over in Milford. They can host practices there. They can host teams, and they can host warm-up matches in the Weston Stadium.
100%.
Cincinnati is going to be involved in the 2026 World Cup somehow, whether that's a host city for matches or whether that's hosting a team or two as their base. I think Cincinnati is going to be involved. It's going to be massive here, and it's something to get excited about.
And
Yeah, what
there
does
could be
it help,
friendlies
though?
that'll be played there. There could be
Exactly.
friendlies that be played there before the World Cup,
Tune-up
leading
game.
up to it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, or even not involving the World Cup at all, but friendlies, right? I mean, we brought in, the U.S. men's national team. We brought in the women's national team. That's going to be easier to do with this stadium with grass. We don't have to, lay grass anymore. And certainly, if you're looking for a big game, right, in Ohio that you want to play, like maybe Mexico for a qualifier.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
I mean, do you want the belt buckle or do you want the, the flashing
You want
lights?
the one
right?
that's contain the noise. You want everything goes straight up.
You got to go somewhere different now because the last time they played there, they lost.
Don't
Exactly.
remind me.
Mexico. Yeah.
Yep. And then, talk about friendlies with, other clubs. And I know some of us aren't fans of those subs, but, if we got a big name, right?
Oh, you're talking about the international friendly?
Exactly. Right.
I
you
wonder
never
where you were
like
going with that.
Yeah. You never like those. I know. But, the reality is some people get excited.
Let me
Okay.
I'm okay with them doing one once every 3 or 4 years. Every year, to me, it's overkill.
Yeah.
I'm fine with friendlies, but yeah, I don't know if you need to do it every year.
And I think we need to bring in somebody who excites fans, right? I mean, to go find a team that everybody goes, who's that? Where are they from?
Right.
What's their record? I mean, I know we're not maybe the most sophisticated fans as an entire city that we know all the Spanish league teams and all that, but pick some teams that we have soccer fans and pick some teams that people follow and get excited about. And I think in the past, we've not been able to bring in a bit, like say a Man City, right? We couldn't bring them in, not with a turf field and that stadium, but West End Stadium, I could see that.
Yeah, maybe. Man City, that might be a game that has to be played at Paul Brown.
Yeah. Well,
A big name like that.
We could bring in a small club like Everton or something.
oh, Jeff is not going to be happy at you for that.
On that note, let's talk about a center back that was strongly rumored to be heading to Cincinnati, but doesn't look like he is, Armando Mendez. Now, we've talked about him here on this show. We loved the idea of him coming to Cincinnati just because he was ginormous. But yes, Laurel Failer of the Queen City Press website, she has basically said that is not happening. And I think after watching some of his play and seeing some of the stats, I think we might even be okay with that. What do you think?
Yeah, man. If we wanted somebody big who could kick balls into the stands, we would have just kept Fat Randy from the Bengals.
We're on fire tonight, folks.
I would have wanted to see him show up and maybe have like a Guido Gonzalez game with him. See how many yellow cards he might be the only person ever to get 3 yellow cards in a game.
To be serious, I'm not sure Mendez was the right fit because he was a right back who they were talking about. Maybe we don't know. I think it was just all speculation that he was going to be a center back.
Yeah.
I think FC Cincinnati does need help there because if Jaap Stam wants to have a back 3, 3 center backs. Right now we have 3 center backs, and I don't necessarily rate Sadardul Salam as like a great 4th option because a 4th option is going to play a lot in a 3-5-2 or something. So yeah. I definitely think a move needs to be made to strengthen that back line, and I actually do prefer a center back over maybe a right back. I'd like to see what Zhao can do, and then maybe if Zico Bailey and Saad, fight it out. You've got worse options there, but yeah, Mendez, it definitely would have been interesting and entertaining, but Brian and I, we sat and watched videos of that guy for like 20 minutes on that scouting service we have, Subs. No. And it wasn't good. He can't cross the ball at all.
Yep. So you can put an end to that one. Unfortunately, the shirts would have been great, but we live to see another day. One thing we do know: FC Cincinnati is departing tomorrow for Florida for a preseason. Again, they're friendlies this weekend against the Chicago Fire. So we're all very excited about that. So make sure you check that out. And of course, you know what? Make sure you get subscribed to CST, and not just CST, but Talking Tactics. Coach is going to have another show coming up here this week, talking about Luciano Acosta and how he's going to fit in with FC Cincinnati. So you won't want to miss that. And while you're subscribing to podcasts, why don't you go leave us a rating and review? Let us know how we're doing. You can also email us feedback at cincinnati-soccertalk.com. All right, let's begin to wrap things up. I'll start with you, Jeffrey Tebbets. Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show this week.
Thank you.
You're not wearing your suit, but you still look good in the kit.
I look good in the kit because it's $20.
Ha!
Yeah, it's going to be going down in price every time I show up. But the thing I wanted to emphasize this week is that it felt so good being a member of a supporter group where this was the week that spring finally came out. We hit the equinox finally this weekend, and that sort of punctuated, I think, all of the scarves that came out. It was scarf week. You started out with some really good designs from the Pride. Hanger 937 did theirs on Tuesday. You got something from the Brigade. You got DI Dienestad got theirs on Thursday. It's great seeing all this creativity come from the supporter groups, and I think it was sort of stuck wanting to get out and express itself over the past year. So it's great. I want to see Scarf Week be a natural thing that happens every year.
Yeah,
So,
I thought there were some really great designs. I'm glad you brought that up, Jeff. And yeah, obviously you're quite involved with DI.
yeah.
And, so yep. Again, I think they all did a really good job.
And I got this one from the Lou City Ladies. They did one Black Lives Matter one that they delivered this week. So thanks to them. Great design.
And as always, Jeff, appreciate you being on the show, bud.
Thank you.
Brad Weigel, you got any final thoughts?
Not too much, man. Got them all out tonight. But if I can just everybody keep Boston in your prayers. He's doing well. He's trying to say hi to everybody. He would have loved to have been with us tonight. Just keep him in your prayers. He's battling, and so far so good with the reports there. So love him, and him and I will be back March to match day in probably about 4 weeks here.
Absolutely
Coming, but season's here, Subes.
I know.
It feels like it's like we thought 2020 was long. I feel like this off season's been longer. So
Yeah, it has been
a while. But as always, appreciate your efforts, buddy.
thanks, man.
And last but certainly not least, the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Bill, final thoughts?
Yeah, like Jeff said, it's been fun to start to get excited about games again, and Scarf Week was phenomenal. I think the big three supporters groups have all announced their home venues, at least temporarily in the case of DI now. So exciting to hear where people are going to be pre-gaming and behind the scenes. I know at the Pride where I'm more active, and I'm sure Jeff would say the same at DI. And it's just a fury of activity right now as we're trying to ramp up for this just onrush. I mean, it's like less than a month away, right? And games start, and May is just around the corner. So there is a huge amount of stuff to do still with the club to get things ironed out as far as the logistics, how the march is going to work, and how tifos are going to work, and everything. But everybody is working their literal butts off, trying to make this all come together and be exciting. And it's just fun to be in it again. There was a period where it didn't seem like anything was happening because we were all kind of moping and, pandemic shut-ins. And now vaccines are in arms, and people are starting to wonder what the real capacity of the stadium is going to be in May. And we're working. So it's going to be fun.
Jeff, as always, Bill, as always, appreciate you
it.
being on the show, buddy.
Always great to be here.
Last, my final thoughts. Again, I just want to. I'm not trying to be a downer here on the show, but like this COVID stuff's for real still. Like I know everybody's getting vaccines, but let's not take our eye off the prize here. Like we want to get West End Stadium back to full capacity here sometime this summer, and so still be diligent, still wear a mask. I was just joking with my wife tonight. I haven't been sick in over a year. So I'm going to keep wearing it. I mean, I haven't had a cold. I haven't had allergies, like nothing. So I'm going to keep doing it. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. As soon as I can get that vaccine, I'm definitely going to be going and doing that too. So Be safe out there, everybody. We want everybody to be excited, and we want everybody back at West End Stadium and rooting on the orange and blue. So make sure you continue to be, you continue to work hard at this. We're getting there. We're getting there, folks. Just around the corner. So stay positive, and we'll hopefully have some orange and blue wins to talk about here coming up here in 2021. Don't forget, go check out our store, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/shop. Go get a Watch Your Tackle shirt and rate and review the show on iTunes. We really appreciate all the support that you listeners give us here. You CSTers are fantastic.
I will buy somebody a shirt if they can incorporate the word hippopotamus into a 5-star review.
All right. Hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus.
Okay. There you go. Incorporate that into a five. It's
got to be creative. You can't just say hippopotamus.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Well, the CST panel will be judging it, whether or not it was worthy. Again, my thanks to Ted Meyer and John Hoffman from the RFK Refugees podcast for joining us this week. For Jeff Tebbets and Brad Weigel and Bill Wolf, the Wolfman, I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles. CSTers, we'll see you all next week.